Am I the a-hole? For refusing to help my daughter pay for college? Throwaway account. I, 48 male, have 3 children with my ex. My son Joe, 24 male, and 2 daughters Jane, 21 female, and Amy, 19 female. After the children were born, my great-grandmother started a small education fund for each of them that I have now since controlled since her passing. There weren't any specific criteria for this fund within the context of the law or bank policy because of the type of fund my great-grandmother started. I've added my own money to fund, and my parents have occasionally put in some cash, but it was never expected. My ex never put a dime into it, but always wanted to have equal control of it, and every time I refused, she would get upset. Over the years she's tried to say that she needed money from the fund for expenses for the kids, citing that the child support I was paying wasn't enough. I still refused and said that to just send me the bill and I'll pay for it directly. She didn't want that and would shut up after I asked how she could be so desperate for money for our kids, but refused to give any details. Fast forward to when Joe was going to college and I told my son to just give me enough information so that I can pay the school every semester and he'd be good. My ex tried to convince him to get me to give him all the money so that way he could have his privacy. My son did consider it, but decided that he'd rather I just do this for him because he was worried of blowing through the money. I was proud of him. Jane, however, gave into her mom's way of thinking and insisted that I just give her the entire fund during her second year. I tried to convince her that this way was best and pointed at how well this worked out for her brother. Jane just called me controlling and said that I didn't respect her enough to let her make her own choices. Eventually I relented, but made it clear that this was all the money that there was for her for college. That once it's gone, and she was on her own if she needed more. Everything seemed fine up until about a few weeks ago and Jane called crying saying that she wasn't going to finish because she ran out of money. I asked her what happened and surprise, Jane gave money to my ex. I let her vent and then told her that everything was going to be okay. That while she may not graduate by a certain time, she can still finish school, she'll just need to apply for grants, scholarships, loans and maybe even take a year off to just work. How I would tell the school how she was on her own so she could get more money. Both Jane and my ex are upset with me because they expect me to pay for her schooling and that I was being horrible for wanting her to struggle with loans. To me this isn't about being petty, but rather giving Jane a hard lesson. She wanted to be treated like an adult, well, finding your own way is what adults do. Joe agrees with me, but now Amy is being pressured to access her fund to help her sister. Technically, I could help, but I'd rather Jane work for it herself. Am I the a-hole? ETA, because I saw this question and wanted to clarify. Each fund is separate and, in each child's specific name. I added money in equally to all of them, but, technically, Joe ended up with a lesser amount because the funds were created at the same time for each child, so Jane and Amy's funds had more time to grow with interest. Also, when each of my kids entered high school, I made them authorized users on one of my credit cards that I always paid fully on time to help build up their credit score, so Jane can use that to her advantage. By their senior year of high school, each of my children were told how much money they would have for college and that if there was any left over by the time they graduated it was theirs to do with as they pleased. Joe and Jane both with 2 in-state universities to save money, but Amy is considering going out of state, so she's really going to need every penny from the fund. She's even taking a year off before applying just to work so she can save more money. It's one of the reasons her mother and sister are using to justify Amy giving Jane some of her money. We're American and living in the United States. Here are some comments. Saint Alvis says, NTA. And you're doing yourself a major disservice with this post title. You did help pay for your daughter to go to college. Dingolini says, valuable lesson for your daughter to learn while she is still young. And it keeps it even with the other 2 kids. Gay Cousin 13 says, I think the biggest lesson she needs to learn is to not trust her mother. The Dr. SS 666 says, no, you're right, the mother sounds like she simply wants the money to spend. Am I the a-hole? For not paying for my stepchildren's college? Throwaway account. I, 49, have 2 stepchildren, Leo, 19 male, and Adam, 17 male. I entered their lives when they were 7 and 5 and despite my efforts, they never warmed up to me. I wasn't trying to be their mom, but just another loving parental figure. They told their dad how much they didn't like me when told them that we were engaged and told my husband that they didn't want him to get married. Their dad reassured them that they would always be a big part of his life and asked them to give me a chance. We even went to their mother for help, but she refused. They refused to come to the wedding and wouldn't spend the holidays with their dad if I was there. I was hurt over it for a very long time, but eventually grew to accept that this is how things were going to be and just tried to focus on my own children. Although my husband always held out hope that one day we could all be one big happy blended family. Tragically, my husband passed away in an accident. It was hard, and after the funeral Leo and Adam never reached out to us again. They barely acknowledged their half-siblings, 9 meters and 9F, at family events with my husband's side of the family, and I was sad for them. Fast forward to now, and my niece, Sol's daughter, is going to college, and I agreed to give her $30,000 after sophomore year. My husband loved his sister and niece, so I was more than happy to do it. Word got back to Leo and Adam, and they learned that their father had a huge life insurance policy that I was the sole beneficiary of, plus my side business is now turning over a sizable profit. They reached out to me angry that I was hoarding their father's money and threatening to sue if I didn't tell them how much I got and get half. I was upset, but calmly explained to them that 1, life insurance isn't the same as an inheritance, so they had no legal claim to it. 2, when I initially received the payout I gave some to their mom to hold on to them until they were of age. They didn't believe me until I sent them proof, and apparently their mom used the money to cover living costs, and there was nothing left for them. Since I used some of the insurance money to fund my business, Mill is asking me to pay for Leo and Adam to go to school, but I don't want to. They literally haven't spoken to me in years, and the first time they do it's to demand money. Mill asked me to think of my own children and how Leo and Adam may take out their resentment towards me on them. If that's the case, then I don't care to foster a relationship between them. Am I the a-hole? ETA, I keep seeing this, so I'll add it in here. The life insurance policy was through my husband's job, and I was automatically named. My husband could have changed it, but didn't get around to it. While my stepchildren were never named in the policy, there was always an understanding between us that I would give up some of the money to help Leo and Adam out, which is why I gave it to their mom. No, there wasn't an official will, but it was my husband's intention to make one once he turned 60, but he died in his late 40s. As for survivors' benefits, I can't say if Leo and Adam got some, since their mom and them never talked to me, and I never received anything in the mail about it. I'm guessing their mom took the money I gave her and didn't think that she would need anything else. ETA, again, keep seeing this as well, so I'll comment here. While I don't feel comfortable giving the exact amount, I will say that I gave their mother around 40% of the overall policy. It's the same amount that I saved for my children while keeping 20% for myself as the spouse. Part of my 20% is what I used to start my business. I didn't put the money into a trust for them because I trusted that their mom would do what she thought was best for them and didn't bother to keep tabs on it. Up until they called me, I didn't know my stepchildren didn't have money for college. Neither my husband nor I had wills at the time because we thought we were both too young for those, but since his passing I have made one for myself. My stepchildren are welcome to try, but I doubt that they can sue me for anything because most of my husband's savings went to paying funeral costs and any debts he had prior to his death. The house we lived in was a gift from my side of the family with the condition that it would be solely in my name. I also love Sol's daughter and have a relationship with her, which is one of the reasons why I'll be giving her $30,000. It won't take care of all of her expenses, but it is a good start. Here are some comments. Professor Emeritus 99 says, NTA. Do not let the people around you guilt you into spending the life insurance money plus your hard-earned cash on ungrateful children. You owe them nothing. Mill asked me to think of my own children and how Leo and Adam may take out their resentment towards me on them. They already don't even acknowledge their half-siblings. There is nothing more for them to resent. Kindergarten bullshit says, the gall of that woman, like she doesn't have a front row seat to how her eldest grandkids treat their young siblings. Mill can pay for those 2 jerks, leave OP alone. Am I the a-hole for not giving my mom the money I saved up that she really needs to save her and her babies' lives? I'm the 4th oldest of 10 kids. My mom is currently pregnant with her 11th. Yup. Ever since I was 12, I wanted to move out. I've been saving up money. It's been hard actually not spending, but I'm now 21 and have saved $7,000. My mom knows I work full-time, but I lied and told her it was unpaid internship, otherwise she would have made me give her the money. Her boyfriends literally don't have money, so she has been my siblings and I's check since forever. I'm sick of living in this house with so many people. There's nothing more I want than to move away and live by myself finally. My friend and I always talked about moving to New York, and her uncle are a super who offered us an apartment at a really good rate recently. The idea went from being just something we talked about to actually being a reality. Once I secured a job interview, I knew it was time to tell my mom I was moving out. Despite having 4 older siblings, none of them have moved out. I didn't know how she'd react. She was extremely upset and asked me how I had the money to move to somewhere as expensive as New York and pay rent. I admitted to saving money, and that's when she lost her shit. She started screaming up how I know she's struggling to pay rent and pay for her baby's formula and diapers, and one of her twin toddlers had to have surgery 2 years ago, and I didn't offer a dime, and they're my siblings. 2 weeks before my flight, my mom fainted at her job and was hospitalized. They said that the pregnancy was too high risk, she had problems with her other pregnancies before this one, and almost died with her last pregnancy, and they advised her to abort, otherwise the baby could cost her life. She refused to abort, saying she's been getting pregnant since she was 14, it wasn't going to kill her now. She was in the hospital on bed rest, and she called me begging to send her some of the money, not even all to pay for a special procedure to help her baby. I literally can't afford to waste a dime. My money isn't going to last long, and even with a job lined up I didn't want to risk potentially wasting all my money before I even got to New York, so I told her I couldn't. She went off calling me an asshole, saying moving isn't as important as her and her baby's life. All of my siblings are saying I'm evil and that I can wait to move later and that I'm young and I'm a major asshole for not helping at all. Once I get more stable, I do intend to send her money. I offered $500 and she hung up. I don't know if I'm wrong or not. Thank you all for your advice. I feel much better about my decision. I'm staying at my friend's house with my bags until our flight tomorrow. Your words of encouragement have been nothing but amazing. I don't feel bad at all anymore. Here are some comments. DHDHSJSNSNDES says, I'm leaving tomorrow. I just feel so guilty. Everyone is telling me to sell my ticket and give her the money. I don't even use this app, I just looked up ways to get advice, and this came up. Hopefully I'm doing the right thing, I just need other opinions. Hexagon Heist says, you feel guilty because your mom, who refuses to make choices that will allow her to support herself and her dependents, and your siblings who have been totally blinded by her, are guilting you. Not because you are in the wrong. JESS1804 says, yes, the siblings who are not contributing are telling you what to do with your money. Musketeers Plus2 says, I read it as the older siblings are contributing, so they're angry because the OP is putting their own oxygen mask on first when they've been unwilling to. They do say that all 4 older siblings still live at home. Those siblings are probably the ones keeping things afloat.